And good afternoon. Welcome into the program. Already people in the chat room. You guys are on time today, man. Shout out to Jay, Kirby's Visor, Zona Tucson. Where exactly are you? I'm assuming you're in Arizona there, Mr. Tucson. Anyway, appreciate you guys checking out the show. Today, we are going to run through a couple of different things. We've got number one player in the country is deciding North Carolina is not right for him. Imagine that. And we've also got college football's biggest. What was the title of this article that I perused through? The biggest wild card teams for 2022. And I look at these teams that are in this article, and I'm like, what exactly is wild about these teams? And I are we talking as wild as they could knock somebody off, or are we talking wild that they can like make noise and win a division? I'm not really sure on that, but we'll go through some of these teams today as we roll along. As always, putting the stuff up here. Yeah, the sad news out of Oregon: the young man fell, hit his head. The tight end from Oregon there hit his head and ended up passing away. I can't even imagine. I think the young man's 22 years old, and you never know when it comes to something like that. I mean, one good shot could to your head area can really do some damage. And this young man fell, hit his head, and that was it. So it's just very sad. So terrible news there coming out of Oregon. Good thoughts for those folks up there. All right, so we'll start with these college football wild cards. And I tell you what, when I when I read some of this, it's like, all right, I don't know exactly what you determine a wild card. In my mind, a wild card is a team that is pretty solid and has the capability of possibly winning their division. That's what my idea of a wild card is. All right. So if division leader, let's use Clemson, for example, in the ACC Atlantic. If Clemson stumbles, then a wild card in the Atlantic could be NC State. Okay. In the SEC East, if Georgia stumbles, a wild card there could be Kentucky. Whatever it is you want to go with. All right. And yeah, there you go, Kirby's Visor. Wild card, aka Dark Horse. Um, yeah, there's that. Good point, sir. Anyway, I thought we'd run through some of these. And this is from 247 Sports, which, by the way, they they put great stuff out there. In addition to that's where Josh Pate stuff is from, who I think is one of the best at doing any kind of coverage on anything. But let's go with number 7 on their list is Ole Miss. Now I find this. We're going to do it this way. Do you think that they are the quote unquote wild card in the SEC West? So we'll start with Ole Miss. Lots of changes down there. No more Matt Corral. Um, Lane Kiffin had to replace his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator. They did do well in the transfer portal. They got Jackson Dart, and they got the running back from TCU, I believe. So, and Lane Kiffin's not going to put out a team that doesn't have good offense. All right. Are they a wild card in the West? Well, the chat room sound off on that in a moment. But yeah, Ole Miss, number 7 on the list. Number 6 on the list, and though we ripped them last night, the Tennessee Volunteers. And are they a threat to win the SEC East? Could they be that team that steps up if the Georgia Bulldogs falter and Tennessee is that quote unquote next team? And it sounds like, and I know Dr. Vol and all those guys were in there last night, and you know, They all came to bat for their team. All right. And I've got nothing but respect for the passionate fan base that Tennessee has. But to be a wild card, you need to have some sort of presence on both sides of the ball. And as of right now, I just don't see it with the Tennessee Volunteers. So, yeah, I just don't. I don't really think so. Is Tennessee a team that could be a quote unquote wild card in the East? 247 Sports says the expectation is that we will once again see Josh Heupel's Vols put up points, but in 2021, all those points only resulted in a 7-win season. So can the defense level up even with losses to key contributors? I have no clue. The secondary for Tennessee, if we're really being honest, they may just be recruiting folks from the stands at this point. Anyway, I'm not sure about Tennessee. The next team on the list is the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, Cincinnati, I mean, are they going to be able to roll through whatever their regular season? I don't know. Here's the big thing from them. They lost 9 players to the NFL draft from last season's team that got thumped in the college football playoff. So, wild card for what? I'm not buying Cincinnati either. NC State is the next team at number 4. So, the thing that I'll remember most about NC State, yeah, they've got plenty of guys coming back. Peyton Wilson, Drake Thomas, the linebackers there returning for their senior season. Quarterback Devin Leary had a breakout year last year. He's back. They did lose their tackle to the Carolina Panthers, but as far as a wild card in the Atlantic, if it were flipped and Clemson had to go to NC State this season, I think that would be a much more intriguing matchup. Now, here's the thing with that too. Brian Brzee tore his ACL in the first quarter of that matchup with NC State last year. He's back and he's healthy. That Clemson defensive line is going to have tons and tons of depth. All right, so are they a threat to be a wild card? Yes, because they have playmakers, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball, experience at quarterback, and their coach is a goofball, but he's managed to mold together a pretty good cast of players there in Raleigh. All right, up next, the Oregon Ducks. Now, here's the thing. If you look at Oregon as far as their recruiting class and where they are and the players that are staying and everything else, the Oregon team looks to have talent. Now, here's my thing though. You can have all the talent in the world, but it's not Dan Lanning's team yet. Okay? He's got to get his guys in there to run the system that he wants. And I think that takes some time. Now, are they going to fall off the face of the earth? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. But I do believe that they're going to be pretty good this year. But I think what's going to happen with them is they're going to get popped by Georgia at the beginning of the season. And here on the East Coast, we're not going to give a shit about them because we're not going to see any of their games because they're on the West Coast. Unless you stay up really, really late, you don't see very many Oregon games. I venture to say that's probably one of the few games that we'll watch with Oregon all season will be the matchup with Georgia this year. And we'll forget about them. And we'll look up at the end of the season and Oregon will be sitting at 9-2, 9-3, whatever. And we'll look back at that season and say, okay, they did pretty well in the Pac-12. Maybe they finished right outside of the Pac-12 championship game. But the only thing we're going to remember is the fact that Georgia's going to wipe their nose for them in Atlanta at the beginning of the season. So are they a wild card? Maybe so, but you know what? We won't care around here because they'll end up playing and watch, this will happen. They'll end up playing in some bowl game that no one cares about. And a lot of their players will opt out because they're not Lanning's players. They're not going to have any loyalty to him. And they'll get their face pumped in again by, I don't know, insert Big 12 team here. and we'll think, wow, they lost to Georgia, got hammered there, lost a Pac-12 game or two, and then lost in the Holiday Bowl, and they finish 8-4 on the year. I think that's what's going to happen after in Lanning's first year. Now that's not saying that Lanning is a bad coach. I think the jury's going to be out on that. Now, if he comes in there and he's a miracle worker and he can get Bo Nix to step out of the cast of thinking that he is Superman every damn play, maybe they can do something. But I think that getting popped by Georgia at the beginning of the season is going to maybe stunt the growth there a little bit. If they can keep it close, maybe get a late touchdown and lose by 13 instead of 20, he can take that back with him and be like, look, we made a couple of mistakes here or there. But as of right now, that's kind of what I see with Oregon at number 3 on the list. Also at number 2, Southern Cal. Why in the world are every publication that we see running Southern Cal at us like it's the new version of Coke? Remember when they had Coke too? Remember that? Yeah. Oh, this new Coke is the greatest thing ever, and it flamed out and was terrible. Please explain to me why I should be on fire about a Southern Cal team with a coach that's a coward and left Oklahoma to go there and took his quarterback with him. Why should I be on fire about that? Why should I? And once again, why should we care? Think about that. Why should we care about what Southern Cal does? I'm not buying it. Not buying Southern Cal as a wild card for anything. People think they're going to win the Pac-12. That's kind of amusing too. The Pac-12 is Utah's to lose. In fact, I would take Utah and Oregon against the field, including Southern Cal. They don't impress me. They just don't. And number 1 on the list, as far as college football's biggest wild cards, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So they lose their defensive coordinator. They bring in, if I remember correctly, they bring in Derek Mason, who should still be the coach at Vanderbilt, by the way. I mean, he loved Vanderbilt. They, couldn't win games there because no one can win there. But hey, I think that they're a team that maybe they could bite somebody in the Big 12. Maybe they're on the fringe there. They do have Spencer Sanders, no relation, all Big 12 pick from 2021, led the conference in total offense. And this is his 4th year as a starter. He's got 24 victories as a starter. He did lead the Big 12 last year in interceptions and has thrown 2 or more picks 8 times in his career. He's the epitome of being a gunslinger. He's just going to throw the ball and do whatever the hell he wants. But there's big risk and big reward in that. All right, 803 470 2905. You want to go into any of that? Who is your wild card team for the upcoming season? We'll take calls on that. Some comments here. Have you seen Carolina fans talking about Spencer winning the Heisman? As far as Spencer Rattler goes, I think that's I mean, you can put a what's the term? You can put money on it out in Las Vegas. I mean, there are odds for him. Honestly, the you know, I've said this before, Will Anderson is the best player in college football, but he won't win the Heisman because it's a Pretty Boy award. And it's sad that it's that way. But Spencer Rattler, I just don't think the South Carolina offensive line is going to be good enough to keep him upright. He's going to have to make so many plays with his feet, and he's going to have some folks make plays for him at wide receiver. Josh Van is there, Jaheim Bell, those guys. Yeah. Kirby's Advisor says y'all need to watch Brent Venable's Big 12 interview from today. I'll check that out in just a little bit. Anyway, yeah, I'm not really buying that. I know some of these guys are man, they're wanting Spencer Rattler to do great stuff, and he might be great, but you got to keep a lid on it because of the offensive line, and I don't think he has enough tools back there to protect him. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. Someone said DJ Uiagalelei is not going to win. You're right. Until Uiagalelei, who has more weapons to throw to, more more, I don't want to say toys, but more different things that he can do with the ball. And until he can make some plays with them. I was watching some of the Iowa State game the other night, and he just, for a guy going into his third year, he just still looks either hurt or lost. It's one of the two. If he's hurt, then fine. He's had an off season to heal up. If it's just the fact that he's lost, then he is a lost cause, meaning not lost cause in life, but as far as being a dominant quarterback, you're going to have to tailor things for him where he can just come in and manage a game. I don't think it's going to be, hey, he can go out there and do what he did against Notre Dame 2 seasons ago. Just don't believe it. I do think that there's an opportunity for him to do some stuff this year, but we'll get to interview him at ACC kickoff, and it's going to be interesting to see some of the conversations that he goes with, and some of the things that he says. Because one of the things that we're going to ask him is, I wrote the questions for this the other day, and I'm going to ask him point blank, what did you do differently this year than you did last year to try to avoid some of the mistakes that you made last year? And we're going to see if he can actually, if it was the fact that he was just hurt, or if the rumor that his parents getting a divorce really bugged him. His dad was on Twitter a lot, saying a lot of crazy things. Okay. Wasn't exactly being I don't know. When parents get on Twitter, it's just a mess. Someone asked if that's a picture of Mount Pinos behind me. Nope, that is the Cooper River Bridge down in Charleston, the old bridge that they used to have down there. So, yeah, let's see here. Brandon says Uncle Lou said that Georgia broke ukulele and he'll never be the same. Uncle Lou may be correct. Uncle Lou may be correct on that because he hasn't been the same since. But that Georgia defense broke a lot of teams last year. When you look at what they did to, we could talk about the fact that they harassed the hell out of the Heisman winner. Will Levis is supposed to be a first-round quarterback. They made him look like he was a stooge. Who else did Georgia play last year as far as being good? Bo Nix. They made Bo Nix look like hot dog water. There's several different players that Georgia defense just broke last season. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Uiagalelei because you're at a big-time college football program. You came in with all the hype. We've seen that he's had the ability to make plays, and he just hasn't. And if you can't make plays, then they're going to put somebody else in that can. Klubnik is on the sidelines. He did not come to Clemson to sit on the bench, especially if somebody that's on the field is not as good as he is. And you got to remember, Dabo Swinney had Deshaun Watson. You Georgia fans remember him. He came in. Georgia won that game big over Clemson, but Deshaun Watson came in relief of Cole Stout and threw an absolute dart to Sharon Peak in the end zone down there in Athens. Deshaun Watson looked like he was about 4 or 5 hot dogs short of weighing 160 pounds, and he went out there and was throwing darts down in Athens. But Swinney kept putting in Stout because Stout was the upperclassman. They go down to Florida State. Stout goes down there and starts and ends up putting Clemson in a hole that Watson couldn't bring them out of. And then Watson was a starter the rest of the season. I don't think that's going to happen again. But see, here's the problem for Clemson. And I'm saying this right now, and it's July 14th. The Clemson schedule is atrocious. the first 3 games of the season are Georgia Tech, Furman, and Louisiana Tech before they go on the road to play at Wake Forest. Now, here's the thing with Wake Forest, too. Athlete for athlete, Clemson is about 75% better than what Wake Forest could put out on their field on their best day. But Wake Forest is probably the most well-coached program that Clemson will play in the regular season. And that makes things a lot different. But Clemson generally, if they just line up and do what they're supposed to do and they play with their head in the game correctly, Wake Forest is not going to be an issue for Clemson. But those first 3 games, remember, Georgia Tech is terrible. Furman's a 1AA school. And who's the other team? Louisiana Tech. Let's slow down a little bit. So I think Uiagalelei's got those first 3 games. If he doesn't play well in those games, or maybe Sweeney could do this. No, Wake Forest was avoided. That was Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher didn't want anything to do with Wake Forest. That's what happened there. Anyway, Clemson hammered Wake Forest last season when they played them. But here's the thing. You could have a setup where maybe Uiagalelei goes out and throws a couple of series, and then they may give Klubnik some time. Maybe that'll happen, and then it'll be, they've already said that that Uiagalelei is the starter. Why not get Klubnik some reps? That may be in the mix too. Then exactly what Jetmex said, rotate him in and out and see who can throw the ball better. All right, 803-470-2905. Jason says, who would be the first team to give Clemson a run for their money this season? NC State, a team that beat them last year. After that, I really don't know. Miami, maybe. Florida State, they're right there at the end of the schedule, at the end of the season. Notre Dame, obviously, on the road. Nothing that I would the Notre Dame game is interesting because it's on the road, but they get a week to prepare for it. And they do have a new offensive coordinator, Brandon Streeter, who was the quarterback coach. So there's that. Anyway, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If you'd like to join us here on the program this afternoon as we roll along here on a Thursday. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Yeah, that was Jimbo Fisher last season. Yeah, we went 8-4. We beat Alabama. We got nothing to prove. People seem to forget the last time that Texas A&M played Wake Forest. Wake Forest hung the double nickel on them. Brandon says, if Clemson goes 11-1, who do you think the loss would be to? Probably Notre Dame. They've got Florida State. Yeah, Florida State and Miami at home. Yeah, I don't think that there's lots of people that are in love with Miami too. And I don't know why. Miami's like the West Coast version of Southern Cal to me. Why am I supposed to think that Miami's going to be the best thing since sliced bread? I don't know. We shall they're on the wait and see train with me. All right. 803-470-2905. 803-470-2905. That's the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the program. We want to talk about that. Also, it's being reported that G.G. Jackson, the number 1 basketball player in the country, is going to decommit from North Carolina and enroll early at South Carolina. Yeah, here's the funny thing with that. There is a good set of people that were not on the Frank Martin train, and Frank Martin's gone. And they're going to get, in theory, the number 1 player in the country in G.G. Jackson to come to the program with their new coach. Talking about getting it set up to roll there. My goodness, with all that. That's going to be interesting. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's go to the phones. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. I was just looking. You were talking about your Clemson Tigers there. Taking a good look at your schedule.
Sure.
I think the only team that can, I think, personally, my opinion, the only team that beats is at Notre Dame.
Yep.
I think that's it. I mean, if Clemson goes 12-0 this year, I'm not that surprised. I
I
really
wouldn't be
am not. I
either.
mean,
Well,
maybe
the
Wake
schedule's
Forest gives you a slight challenge, maybe,
right.
but
Well,
that's
no, it's
it.
the schedule is a joke. I mean, it
Yeah,
really, really is. There isn't anyone on that schedule other than NC State, maybe Notre Dame, maybe. But the rest of
yep.
those games, Clemson should line up and be able to roll, in my opinion.
Now, quick question about the ACC this year. With
Sure.
no, obviously, is Notre Dame one of those? Or do they play a few ACC
They
games? Are they
play
like a
five. They play five A's.
semi-member?
No, they're not a member this year. They play 5 games.
Okay. Now, so in other words, they will not participate in the ACC championship. Let's say
They
that
will
they
not.
are okay. Good, good. I just I didn't know. So, but yeah, I think I look at this schedule and I think Clemson, if your quarterback, how do we pronounce his name? Is it Ungalale?
It's no, it's
If
Ui
he isn't,
Ungalale.
yeah, if he is not complete hot dog water, as you like to say, I think college football playoff. Now, once you get there, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this schedule here, I don't see anybody that can stop Clemson.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And once they get to the college football playoff, those games, in my opinion, are won in the trenches. You need to have a good quarterback. The Clemson
Yeah,
defensive line, though, on that side of the ball, Clemson is fine. Um,
yep,
but as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, there's just too many questions with the offense. You're going to have a team
mm-hmm.
like Alabama or Georgia that has some pretty good defensive coaching over there. And they're going to line
Yeah,
up 8 guys in the box, and they're going to tell Will Shipley and Kobe Pace, "You're not going to beat us." And they're going to
yeah,
force Uiagalelei to throw the ball. They're going to put their defensive backs on an
mm-hmm.
island and tell them, "Look, you go one-on-one with this guy, and that's it. There's not going to be any
Yeah,
zone, none of that." They're going to make him
agreed.
make throws, and if he can't, Clemson's going to get blown out once it gets that far.
Yeah, but hey, at least looking on paper, I think you get to the college football playoff unless your quarterback is complete trash.
There's a good
But
opportunity that
that
he could be complete trash. Didn't throw for 100 yards against South Carolina last year. And I mean,
yeah, but you did you.
not good.
But look at this schedule. I don't think you need to really have a great quarterback. I said I think maybe at Notre Dame might be the only time you have to have a decent quarterback.
That's a good
My
point,
opinion.
man.
I
Yeah, good
I could
stuff,
be wrong.
buddy. Hey, I appreciate you calling the show, man. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
All right, there you go. Yeah, at least he agrees with me that the yeah, that's where Clemson is right now. No, as far as the defensive lines last year, it was Georgia's defensive line that was rock solid. I mean, it really, really was. So I'm not can't take anything away from that Georgia defense. Anyway, what we were talking about earlier with GG Jackson. Yeah, it is a backhanded slap to North Carolina, but in reality, on the basketball front, GG Jackson will go on to campus at South Carolina and be number one. Period. If he goes to North Carolina, he may not get to play. That's kind of the way that it works. If you really want to play, and it's just one of those things where I want to be a Tar Heel, I want to be where Michael Jordan played. You're going in knowing as a freshman, you may not get all that time. He'll start day one for South Carolina. They'll build the offense around him, and it'll be go, go, go for the one season that he's there. I doubt that he'll play there past one season. Just like I doubt Spencer Rattler's going to be here after Thanksgiving. He's going to be gone. His final game in a South Carolina uniform will be up at Clemson. Uh, yeah, Kirby's advisor said, "I just heard how great Brian Brzee was and wasn't that impressed compared to the hype he had." Yeah, he has to live up to it, and I understand that. He faced a lot of double teams, though. With the Clemson defensive line, though, the key players are Miles Murphy and Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas was really um, supposed to be the all-changing world-like player, and he's had issues. He had COVID, had so many things happen to him. I mean, there was reports that maybe he wasn't completely all in, to use that term there, but I don't know. I don't know with him. You mentioned him with Carolina Jackpot, and he'll cuss you out. Jackpot can't stand him, which is kind of funny. All right. Final call for calls 803 470 2905. 803 470 2905. It is a seismic shift there if G.G. Jackson goes to South Carolina, though. I think he is good enough that South Carolina makes the tournament with him next year. Right, first season under their new coach, they'll make the tournament. Jimmy says, why wouldn't Spencer Rattler play in a mid to high profile bowl game? Because if it's not the college football playoff, no one cares. No one cares. Now, if they make it to let's get into this vacuum for a moment. Let's say they make it to the SEC championship game, then okay, he'll play in that game. But if they're not in the college football playoff, Spencer Rattler, I don't think he'll play after that. I think he's going to go out there and I think he's going to live, breathe, eat, sleep football for the next 5 months till November, and he's going to go out there and put up as big a numbers as he possibly can, and then he's going to hang up his cleats at South Carolina and head to the NFL draft. That's what this all ends up being in the end. I mean, he doesn't, and I'm not going to say he's not loyal to South Carolina, but he's more loyal to himself. He wants to make the NFL. Coming back to South Carolina for what would be his senior season, especially if he goes out there and he doesn't, physically, he's got all the tools. If he just goes out there and manages games and makes some good throws, leads South Carolina to a win or two they weren't supposed to have, maybe Florida, maybe Tennessee, whatever. If he goes out and does that, gives them enough tape where they can look at him and be like, man, this is a big time guy. He's gotten over the me issues. That's what he's trying to shake at South Carolina. Kirby's visor says it's like Gunnar Stockton for Jackpot. He's like a scorned woman. Yeah, Jackpot gets really upset if someone thinks about going to South Carolina, like a Delk at Georgia. He can't stand him either. Oscar Delp, can't stand him either. Brandon says, what happened to Doty? Yeah, Doty's probably going to be the backup. That's basically what it boils down to. SEC Dog says, you think the NFL will be interested in Rattler? Walter Smith's projections, which is kind of what I look at as far as when I look at a player, if they determine Walter Smith has him projected as a first to second round pick right now. Now, physically, he's got all the tools. It's not an issue of, hey, can he make throws or not? It's an issue of, can he get out there and prove that he's just a team guy? Shane Beamer said all the right things about him, but let's see here. Daniel says they're not beating Tennessee. We beat them by 2 touchdowns. I already put that on the bookcase of accountability. I'll put that up there for you, Daniel. You think you're going into Columbia and winning by 14 points? I mean, that's solid. So on that logic, though, I was looking at this, and I've got actually the notes here. So hold on one second there. So when you go to the last time that, let's see here, the last time that the Vols won by 14 against South Carolina in Columbia was, I mean, we have to go way, way back. I mean, way back. In Columbia, let's see here. Tennessee win. I mean, it's 2004, they won 43-29. So you think that you're going to win by 2 touchdowns in Columbia? Okay. Let's see here. SEC Dog says, Rob, do you think that Rattler will be a crybaby at South Carolina like he was at Oklahoma? Well, I mean, I think that people can grow. I think you have the capability to do that. We'll see. We'll see, man. I mean, you know, things can change quickly. There are a lot of things that happened to him. I mean, he was recruited forever by Lincoln Riley. He thought Lincoln Riley was the best thing ever, and Lincoln Riley put him on the bench. He came in, had a great season his freshman year. All of a sudden, you're not getting things done. And he got cast, some stones thrown at him. He went from being a guy that was projected to win the Heisman to go sit your butt on the bench. Just saying. It's it's you'd like to think that he used that as something as motivation to better himself. Daniel says 100% smacking them. Times are changing, my friend. Offense has too much firepower. Okay. Look, the gimmick stuff at Tennessee, man, not many people run that stuff, but not at that pace all the time. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens with that. Yeah, and that's pretty much what happened with him. And when that happens to you, and you're told, "Hey, think about this. Since he was in 8th grade, Lincoln Riley's been telling him, man, you're the greatest thing ever. We need you here at Oklahoma. You're going to be leading us to the Big 12, to the college football playoff. You come in, you win you're close to winning the Big 12. You end up playing Florida in a bowl game, and you go out there and you have good numbers against the Gators, finish with like right at 3,000 yards passing, something like that. And all of a sudden, you come in the next season and you don't play well, and you got to sit on the bench. Then your coach leaves. I don't think Lincoln Riley was, you know, banging down doors trying to get Spencer Rattler to come with him. Let's see here. Brandon says, Rob, what do you think about the South Carolina defensive line? Pickens, Burch, Sandage, Stricken, and Muschamp recruited the D line. Well, he did. But you know what? You got to have a whole setup here with um, what I mean by the whole setup is that you have to realize the potential that you have. Jordan Burch and Pickens haven't exactly been what they were supposed to be. These are guys that were recruited by the Georgias, the LSUs of the world. I mean, they were highly sought after. They go to South Carolina, they stay home, and they end up not 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 what they were supposed to be. Really, really true on that. I don't know. Um, there's a lot of potential on the defensive line. Let's leave it at that. I don't know what Gene's talking about. That's funny. Anyway, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. Karen says, I think he proved it will work when he was the OC at Missouri with Drew Lock and then put 40 a game at Tennessee after nearly 30 transfers and no depth. So works pretty good for a gimmick. I'll take it. Look, that's awesome. All right. Tell me, though, the last time that gimmick offense won a championship. I'll wait. I'll wait. When it comes to nut cutting time, that gimmick offense eventually fails. And by the way, when it comes to that kind of offense, you end up leaving your defense hanging out to dry because even if you score very quickly, your defense, they're out there for more plays. They really, really are. And the opposing coaches, they're going to try to stretch the clock and try to keep your offense off the field, even if you are effective. So you wear out your defense. And by the fourth quarter, your guys are going out there with their hands on their hips, tired. So there's something to that. There really is something to that. Yeah, it may win you some games. Daniel says Auburn with Gus Malzahn. Okay. Well, but who did he have at quarterback? Think about that. And they also had Nick Farley on the defensive line too. They had some players on defense, but Cam Newton was a complete and total game changer at quarterback. Anyway, Karen says, no, you're right about that, but I'm hoping once he gets more depth, it'll be more of a hurry up and a wait kind of thing and only go full go if we notice the D is out of position. Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying sustainability on the long term is what you have to look at. And there's a lot of, especially on the defensive sides, that just aren't there. Daniel says also Gus made the ship with Nick Marshall. But who else was on that team with Nick Marshall? You got to think about that too. And I think they had some defensive players as well. 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If he doesn't change up, then he's just as arrogant as Butch Jones. Look, variations on your offense can make you great. There's Dabo Sweeney used to, really piss me off with it could be 4th and inches and they're going to go for it. But Clemson lines up in the freaking shotgun. It's like you're lining up 5 yards back. You've got to go a foot, but we're going to line up 5 yards back instead of telling our offensive line what your existence in life is to get that 1 foot. We're going to sneak with our quarterback and push our way through. So he got away from that, and it was, well, this is just the offense that we run. Well, that's bullshit. It's really bullshit. That's the only term that I can use there on that. Now Clemson has sets where they'll line up and they'll literally run just a quarterback sneak. So Kirby's visor with the comment of the day. I don't care how great your offense is. If you can't stop anybody, you're not winning anything of substance. You are exactly right. You really are. Brandon says DeMarcus Bowman just transferred to UCF. I'm worried. Here's the thing with this guy. I don't know. He came to Clemson and didn't, worked on special teams, had some carries, transfers out, goes to Florida, doesn't chalk up there. And then now he's going to UCF. I don't wish ill will on any young man, but I think he's getting some bad advice. Daniel says Gus's offense got stale. He didn't evolve, but I don't think there's a better offensive mind in the game right now than Josh Heupel. We can have debates upon that. I think Lane Kiffin, if you told me I could have Lane Kiffin or Josh Heupel, I'll take Lane Kiffin today, tomorrow, and next week. I think Lane Kiffin's won at an SEC level with 2 different schools. So, yeah. You think he's the best offensive mind in the game? Okay. I'll take Lane Kiffin, and I think the majority of the chat room would go with me on that one. So, Lane Kiffin, you remember the games at Alabama where as soon as the ball would snap, he would literally put his hands up, touchdown. He knew it. He had great players that were going to execute and do exactly what he wanted them to do, and he knew he already won the chess match and could throw the ball down the field. Ryan Day is in the mix too. Yeah, I think I would go with that too. And by the way, Clemson fans get upset by this, but if Lane Kiffin would have coached in that championship game, and if Bo Scarborough didn't break his leg, there's a chance that Alabama team doesn't lose to Clemson. I believe in that. They were that good, and Kiffin is that smart. So I don't know. And I appreciate you Tennessee fans. God, Todd Monken, stop it. I appreciate you Tennessee fans backing up your team, and that's kind of the way you got to go there. But I had my picks, man. Kiffin would be right up there on top. He really, really would be. All right, final call for calls 803-470-2905 because that's fine. We're recruiting on defense. Number 2 top 10 pass rushers coming to Knoxville. Yeah, and I agree on that, but you got to work on your secondary too. A lot of what happened with Tennessee last year is that they got picked off. I mean, they picked on in the secondary. So Karen with another comment. I think there's hope with how well we are recruiting on both sides of the ball, though. Good luck to this Tiger, Rob, and thanks for the civil combo. Be nice to have us play in a bowl soon. Uh, my wife, when we started dating, got me tickets to the Peach Bowl where Clemson won against Tennessee in the Peach Bowl. And here's the funny part about that. She bought the tickets, right? And our seats were literally right next to the Tennessee band. So right there, the Tennessee band's blowing out Rocky Top into our ears. And we kind of looked out of place. And there were some drunk Tennessee folks that are like, man, you guys got the wrong kind of orange on there, boy. That's what one guy said to me. It's like, okay. But they ended up being good folks. Uh, Rob, look at what Todd Monken did with Stetson Bennett. That's a miracle worker. Stetson Bennett is like 5'7", 145 pounds, and won a national title. Won't ever have to buy another drink in Athens. So, I mean, there are Georgia fans that have told me that Stetson Bennett will lose them a game this season. These are the same Georgia fans that told me Stetson Bennett would lose them a game last season. He's just and this is the term, he's frustratingly solid. What I mean by that is that he doesn't really do a lot where he's going to do enough to get him benched, but he doesn't go out there and score 56 points a game for you either. Jay says, I sat 8 seats from Nebraska band at the Citrus Bowl in 2012. That crap is irritating. Okay. Harry Legg says Stetson's taller than Bryce Young. I was just making him shorter to improve his legend there a little bit. Daniel says, your offense is efficient, but when your defense is that good, it makes your offense look better than it is. I can guarantee UGA isn't going undefeated going to the SEC championship game. Well, who on UGA's schedule is going to beat them? Because I think that defensively, yeah, they lost a lot, but man, they got a lot coming back. And they've got so many guys that are, I mean, Georgia, just the tight ends that Georgia has. They've got what, like 3 tight ends that are probably going to be first day picks in the draft. Just saying. I don't I don't see anybody on that Georgia schedule that's like, all right, this is the team that's going to beat them. Now, someone says the Vols over there. Look, if Georgia goes in, they turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. Sort of like the way that South Carolina picked them off. What was it, 2019? If that happens, you can lose any time. You really could. But if they're consistent and play to the level of the talent that they have, I don't see anybody on that schedule beating them. I really don't. All right. We'll be back at it tomorrow. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the good conversation today. I appreciate you Tennessee fans coming in here and and until I am shown differently. All right. I think that the good thing about your offense is that you're not going to lose to piss poor teams like Georgia State. A lot of that's going to be gone. But in the end, getting to the absolute next level of that offense, that's going to be the next thing. Daniel says you run the chat. Okay. You guys are hilarious. All right. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you guys. Oh, when will you pay for the Pick'em Challenge? I normally set that up after media days. So for those that don't know, the Callaway's Pick'em Challenge, we do 10 games against the spread every week, full leaderboard. Okay. And basically, you send all your money to Carolina Jackpot. He holds on to it. And at the end of the season, whoever has the most correct picks against the spread wins the pot. Christian Young won it last season. Was like $2,000 he took home. So we're hoping it's probably going to be more than that this year. So we shall see. Peg and Megan has promised that he's going to get into it. I think he will finish dead last. I stand by that. All right. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you later on.